from RF Smart. This is Taking Inventory, a podcast all about better controlling your supply chain and improving inventory management. And now, your host, Sarah Archer.
Welcome to Taking Inventory with RF Smart. My name is Sarah Archer. I'm the digital media coordinator at RF Smart, and this is Taking Inventory, which is a podcast all about ERP, warehouse management, and of course, inventory. And at the heart of all of those topics are our customers, and those are the people who use RF Smart and see results. And so today I have one of those customers in the studio with me. I'm joined today by Rob Blackerby from Gem Products. Rob, thank you for being here. And can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Sarah. Well, I've been at Gem Products for 18 years. I just realized my 18th anniversary was 2 days ago. Sorry. I actually started at Gem in the warehouse doing shipping, receiving, and inventory tasks. So I have a good background with that, and eventually came into the IT department as a system administrator, and eventually worked my way up to director of information technology. So it's been great for me personally, and I think good for the company to, like I said, have that combined background of the warehouse and kind of logistics behind it, as well as, the ability to get in and learn and implement and develop technology to go along with it.
Yeah, the folks in your warehouse are so lucky to have somebody on their side that has been in the warehouse working and now is in IT championing the products. So that's great. And so I want to talk a little bit about Gem and your background. You guys are on NetSuite, and you chose
Yes.
NetSuite in 2009, and you became an RF Smart customer in 2018. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about Gem, what you do, and the history of the company.
Sure. Well, Gem has actually been around since 1961. It's been in the current family ownership since 1980, and what we are and what we do is we like to call ourselves the boating and marine industry leader in the design and manufacturing of stainless steel boat hardware, both for OEMs and for boat owners. We're very proud of our quality of our products, very high quality stuff, of our staff and the service that we give our customers. For many, many years, we were known as the hinge guys in the industry. I believe this was before my time at Gem, because that's pretty much all we sold was hinges. And I'd say probably roughly 25 years ago, the company decided to go ahead and start investing in some new product lines like latches, steering wheels, rod holders, cleats, that kind of stuff. So that eventually just kind of snowballed over the years into really developing and selling some new kinds of products for the marine industry. So, and actually at one point, I believe it was in the late 90s, we had a metallurgist on hand, and he developed a proprietary Gemlux electropolishing process. So that Gemlux electropolishing process is what really gives our stainless steel its luster, its reliability, its resistance to corrosion. So we actually guarantee our stainless steel for life against corrosion, as long as it's properly taken care of.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've actually been to the Gem warehouse, and I remember seeing some of the processes that you guys have in place and just how much care and detail you guys put into your product, which is awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about your warehouse, the facility that I saw. You guys moved there fairly recently, right? It was a fairly recent transition.
That's correct. Yeah, we actually went live with RF Smart the day that we opened for business at our new facility.
So a couple years ago, and that was to handle some growth that you guys were facing?
Absolutely, yeah. We had been growing year over year, coming out of the recession, 2008, 2009, ironically around the same time that we started with NetSuite. So we've been growing pretty steadily ever since then, and we just literally ran out of space in our old facility on the other side of town. So most of that being warehouse space, we were getting tight in the offices. So they shopped around, spent a couple of years trying to figure out, the best solution for this day. And they decided to build a brand new building and essentially double our square footage and double the height of the warehouse and, gained ourselves a lot of space. And ironically enough, we're now considering or looking at ways to further utilize our space in better ways because we're continuing to keep growing.
Wow. And your warehouse is really tall, right? So you guys have some racking that you're utilizing in vertical space. I know we'll talk a little bit about that here in a moment and how you guys are using that space. But I want to talk about you guys realized this growth, you're moving to a new facility. When did you recognize the need for WMS? So you went live as you moved to the facility. What was that process like for you as you were choosing a WMS?
Well, we actually looked at a couple different solutions. I believe it was 3 of them. One obviously being RF Smart. We looked at NetSuite's WMS solution. At the time, it really wasn't a good fit for us. And we looked at another product that was certainly a different way to accomplish the same tasks. It was a great product for a different company. It was really designed for a very large company with many locations. So it didn't suit us. RF Smart really seemed to be the best option for us. And we had actually not been using any kind of real WMS prior to that. In our old facility, we did have bins set up. We had bin numbers, but we weren't bin tracking anything. So, again, seeing how much growth we'd been experiencing, how much product we have on hand, how much we're having to replenish bins, we knew we needed something more. We had actually had a solution we developed in-house that ran in NetSuite. It was essentially a picking and a packing solution that our workers would carry around iPads throughout the warehouse and pick and pack their orders on these iPads, which was definitely a great step in the right direction. But, developing software internally in-house takes a lot of time. We got one person working on that and doing all the other IT at the same time. So we knew that we needed a third party to fill in all the gaps.
And so as you guys were investigating, we need a WMS. What we're doing right now isn't necessarily, going to be the best solution in the long run. There was a need that you guys were trying to fill in order to be more efficient, to be a little bit more efficient, right? So you're noticing maybe that things were being done multiple times. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We were, even with the iPads, there was still a lot of paperwork involved, a lot of manual processes, as one example. One example of that is that replenishments. We didn't do, a daily replenishment operation. It was replenish as you pick. As I'm sure you can imagine, that's very inefficient. You might get 2 or 3 SKUs a day that you have to replenish. You might get 15. And if you got to stop and grab a forklift, it's really makes it an inefficient process. We also had, kind of a traditional old style design of layout of the warehouse and the product. As I said, we weren't using bin management. So the products were laid out by product line and then alphabetically or alphanumerically. And it was just really up to the user to know what he or she was supposed to do. We were recognizing in our research, recognizing there's, other picking techniques and best practices and stuff that was very important for us to consider implementing.
So I want to talk about automation. That's one of the things that Jim is known for at RF Smart is just how you guys think bigger. So you moved to this warehouse space and then you implemented so many ways to automate. One of those, of course, is being a WMS. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other automation that you guys have implemented?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that Jim has realized is, investing into technologies, whether that be software, equipment, research into best practices, stuff like that really helps our efficiency. It really helps us to get more done with the same amount of people. Or even less people in some cases. So, it's since we moved into this building, it's been a little over 2 years now. We are still have some things that we have not implemented yet. So we've been just kind of turning switches on here and there over time. As you said, WMS is one of those. We purchased a vertical lift machine, which is similar to a picking carousel, but it has shelves. That essentially it's got this tray in the middle of the machine that moves up and down and slides a shelf on to bring you product that you need to pick or put away. We've done lots of customizations in NetSuite around making operations better for the warehouse, more efficient. We're using a lot of the inventory management features of RF Smart, such as bin put-aways and replenishments and all that good stuff.
And so when you were choosing your WMS, did you have this automation project in mind with the vertical lift?
Yeah, absolutely. We were definitely looking into that as one of the options to really save on space in the warehouse. as well as for picking efficiency. So, we had an expert work with us and made some recommendations around some different options. We even went out to a couple existing facilities and saw some of these pieces of equipment in use. So we had a pretty good idea we were going to invest in one of these vertical lift machines, and knew it needed to be able to talk to NetSuite. So, in talking with RF Smart, we knew that you guys had an option or a capability to integrate those two systems.
And for those of you listening, I have seen this vertical lift machine, and I think the industry term for it is automated storage retrieving system. So Google that and take a look at what it looks like. It's cool. It's very cool. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into the automation piece of the warehouse. What are the benefits that you are seeing from automation?
Well, really, it's as I said before, there's a noticeable increase in efficiency. We have been able to process roughly 30% more product through our warehouse with the same amount of people that we had 2-3 years ago.
And so before you said it was very manual. And so I know that in talking to you before we recorded, one of the things that you said was that you've reduced picking time significantly, right? So it used to take quite a bit more time, and now you are able to, using this machine, pick much quicker. Yeah,
that's correct. I would estimate that average time to pick previously was about 2 to 3 minutes per line item, and we've probably reduced that to less than a minute on average. We didn't really have a way to measure that prior to using RF Smart, so it's very hard to actually quantify it. But one of my favorite examples of talking about the increase in efficiency that we've gained is that we have one customer, our largest customer. They typically order 4, 5, 6 pallets worth of product, and we have that order consists of 200 to 300 cartons. Back in our old warehouse and prior to using this new technology and this new software, it would actually take 2 people 2 days at 6 hours per day to pick and pack an order. Wow. So you're looking at about 24 hours of man time to pick and pack one of these orders. After we went live in our new facility, the first order that we got from this customer, I believe it was in our first week of operation, we reduced that down to about a 3-hour picking time, as well as about another 2 to 3 hour pack time. So we essentially cut our time required from 24 hours to about 10 or 12 hours. So with this automation, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the specific functionality that you're using for RF Smart. So you guys are using Pick Planner. Can you talk a little bit about Pick Planner, how it's picking tasks out of NetSuite, and what that looks like with all of the things you guys have put in place? Yeah, absolutely. Of course, without Pick Planner, users picking orders, choosing orders manually, can add some definite time to their process. We certainly had a system and a routine that we'd follow. And just like everything else, we've kind of turned on features of Pick Planner over time. So we actually started out using regular sales order picking for an amount of time, and then we purchased Pick Planner, added that on. So essentially Pick Planner is making that decision for us of which orders do I need to group together. For example, we'll have a pick task issued for a single LTL shipment because those are generally large. You're not going to fit multiple orders on your cart or on your pallet. We have another picking plan that groups 5 or 10 single line items together, something that you can go grab a bunch of orders, make one path through the warehouse to get your 5 or 10 orders all at one time. So having the system group things for us in that way is one, is taking the time away from the user to think about that and make that plan. And two, it's tweaking those plans over time has really gained us a lot of efficiency. We've even separated our warehouse into 2 different zones now. So we have some orders where the system will send the user out to the pallet racks to the bins out there to pick some pieces, and then another user will pick pieces out of that vertical lift machine. So you've actually got 2 people picking one order. They come together at the end. We slap a label on it, and it goes out the door as one shipment. And one of the things that I think is coolest about the vertical lift is that when you have these orders to pick, it will actually, instead of saying, okay, we're going to bring you tray 1 and then tray 2, tray 3, it'll have you pick
multiple things out of the tray. You could probably describe that a little bit better than I can, but it's very neat.
Yeah, it is really cool. Prior to us actually getting the systems integrated, that was a very manual process there at the machine. So that user would have to pick an order off of his scanner, as well as work the console at the machine. So we actually had RF Smart customize our task picking function to display a 2D barcode on the screen, so that we can therefore pick up the scanner that was attached to the machine, scan the mobile scanner, which sounds kind of silly. You got a scanner scanning a scanner. But, let's say you've got an order or a task with 5 line items on it. 3 of those line items are on tray number 1, 2 of those line items are on tray number 2. So without the system knowing which items you need in advance, the user's just saying, okay, give me item number 1. Brings him tray number 1, picks his pieces. Now he says, okay, give me item number 2. Well, then it brings him tray number 2, and he might go back and forth between that tray a few times. Well, by having the system know in advance what parts are needed, this machine is actually smart enough to optimize that tray and that pick path for you. So if it knows you've got 3 parts on one pan, it's going to leave that pan in the access port, tell you to pick those 3 items before it goes and grabs the next one. So, not only are you gaining storage density with this machine, it is really intended to also increase your picking efficiency even further.
So as we kind of think forward a little bit, what are some things, and I don't know, maybe you're not able to tell me, I hope that you are, what are some things that you are hoping, maybe some automation that you might be hoping to implement in your warehouse? If you had a wish list, what would you pick?
One thing I saw at another company that I really liked, if nothing else for the cool factor, was automated conveyor belts or automated rollers. So essentially you would put a box or a tote on a roller. It had a light beam that would break. The box would break that light beam, and then the rollers would just turn on and move the box down the line. Obviously that requires a very certain kind of setup, but having automation to move your packages around, things like that, I think would reduce a lot of time spent by your employees as well, because now they don't have to walk from point A to point B to drop off a package to be packed. They drop off their box at the rollers and then turn around and start picking again, start working on the next task.
Very cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely get one of those. We'll do another podcast about it when you get it, okay?
Okay. I'll do my best to get a hold of one of those.
That's awesome. So we always talk about our mission at RF Smart is to transform customers and change lives. And so how has automation transformed your business and working with RF Smart? One of the things that the people listening may not know is that we do provide tools to help implement and adopt automation. But what specifically for you have you seen transforming your business?
Like I said, it's really been that realization that technology can be helpful. If nothing else, I was out in the warehouse this morning, and this may seem like a very basic thing, it's something that a lot of companies probably have, but an automatic pallet wrapping machine. I remember I worked in the warehouse, I had to do it by hand, and you would get dizzy, your back would hurt, and if you got to wrap 20 pallets a day, well, that takes a long time after packing them. So, that's a simple example of not only making it faster, but easier on our staff. Ability to report, to see metrics. I did find a few pieces of statistics for you after the last time we talked. In comparing 2019 versus 2016, we have shipped 35% more weight, pounds.
And that's how you guys measure, right? Is in pounds? Yeah,
it's really our most accurate way to measure our work, just because of the way that we kind of store some of the data. It's not all stored in the same way. We're shipping 23% more line items, 17% more quantity shipped, number of pieces, 18% more packages. So that's compared 4 years ago to last year. Our revenue is actually up 70% between those 2 years. So that's how much we've grown in the last 3 to 4 years is 70% revenue. So there's a couple reasons for that. It's one, the business is growing, but we've introduced some new product lines that are very high quality, high end items, fishing gear, things like that. So they cost a little bit more, but people love them, and I can see why. They are really high quality. They do seem like the best products on the market for those. one thing that I think that we at GEM don't ever think about is really our return rates. I did a little research on this a couple months ago for something else, and I read that on the average e-commerce return rates are between 20 and 30%. So I decided to compare 2017 to 2020 year to date. In 2017, we had a 0.87% return rate across the board. And out of that, 0.023% was due to picking errors.
Wow.
So, yeah, and that's before us using RF Smart. So looking ahead to 2020 year to date, we've actually increased our refunds across the board to 1.5%, which is still extremely low.
For sure.
But looking at the error refunds, as far as picking errors go and returns, it's 0.015%.
Wow.
So, in the combination of having a better warehouse done smarter and using, the technology to, if nothing else, scan, verify parts as they're picked, has reduced, the number of errors that we experience.
It's interesting. I talk to a lot of NetSuite customers, right, and many e-commerce customers, and one of their number one goals is customer satisfaction. They want for their customers to be happy with the thing that they get in the mail on the other end of their sale. And that's kind of one of the statistics I love to hear is when RF Smart has your returns may have, they've gone down, whatever it is, but being able to continue to increase those customer satisfaction numbers and making sure that they get the right thing. Because there's nothing more frustrating, right? I don't know if this has happened to you, but when you order something and you don't get the right thing, or it's not the size you ordered or the color, there's just nothing more frustrating than having to return that. And so that's just one of the many benefits for sure. Yeah,
I mean, of course, there's the gold standard e-commerce seller out there that shall not be named, that obviously, I've had very good experiences with, and I think most everybody has. So they really set the standard. It's hard to do what they do. It really is. But we pride ourselves on our customer service, not only having the best products, but having the best people servicing the customers. An email goes out to the company every now and then with a customer who is like, hey, I want to tell your boss about my great experience I had, working with you and working with your company. So when we get those, they occasionally distribute them internally to the employees, and it's really great to see, these people say things that it's just like, I every time I order online, I don't really have any expectations about great customer service. I want to return something. I'm not even sure I'm going to get to be able to return it. But then they turn around and say, they're like, wow, you treated me like a mom and pop shop. You took care of my needs. You listened to my problems. You sat with me on the phone and you got it taken care of. With little hassle, I got my replacement parts in a couple days, kind of thing. So it is really great. We try to take that attitude as much as we can with all aspects of the business.
And it's just a testament to the great folks that work at GEM for sure. And having you here is great today. Thank you so much for being here. I want to ask you one final question before we wrap up. And that question is related to automation. If you were to give a piece of advice to an RF Smart customer, maybe it's somebody implementing for the first time, maybe it's around automation. I don't know necessarily, what your piece of advice might be, but if you were going to talk to somebody implementing RF Smart, what would your advice be to them?
You definitely have to have a plan, or at least an idea of what you want to accomplish, and maybe even how you want to accomplish it. We were had been doing things a certain way for years, and we really didn't know any better. So it did take us, talking to RF Smart, talking to other experts, and finding out best practices, other practices, just different practices. So that really helped us to get an idea of what we would like to kind of do, or at least give a shot at trying. So I can tell you that the time that we went live with RF Smart, it was very chaotic around the company because we were just finished to move. You're bringing several $1 million worth of inventory across town, over a span of a few weeks was certainly a struggle for sure. So, we knew like I said, we had an idea of what we kind of wanted to accomplish in the end. And it took us 18 months to probably try out all the different things that we had ideas for. So, I would also recommend to take baby steps. Do things incrementally if possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you just got to okay, we're going down the hill here. Yeah. So, like I said, definitely have a plan. Do incremental updates or incremental features as you can. Let people adjust and learn to them and learn how to use it right before you do the next thing.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Rob, so much for being here today. I just love hearing from our customers and hearing how RF Smart is contributing to their business and to their success. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are tuning in, make sure that you are subscribed. You can subscribe on your favorite streaming platform or to our YouTube channel to listen to these episodes. You'll want to make sure you're subscribed so you get notifications when we release a new episode. For all information related to the podcast or a transcript of this podcast, you can visit rfsmart.com/podcast. And then make sure that you check out the website for new episodes and other great resources. Thank you again, Rob, for being here. Thanks to Jim Products. And thank you for listening. We'll see you again soon.